President Biden's new campaign message appears to be paying off. According to a new Morning Consult poll, Biden is now leading Trump by 2% among all voters and making some serious gains among independents, too. With me now to discuss two of my favorites, MSNBC contributor and Voto Latino president and CEO Maria Teresa Camar, and Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican National Committee and former lieutenant governor of Maryland. He hosts the hit weekend show, The Weekend, right here on MSNBC. Maria, these are positive numbers for the president, but this race is still close. What are you thinking?
Well, the fact that he's already starting to take a lead against Trump and it's still so early and people are finally starting to see the message and the translation of his policies means that it can only get better for Biden right now. One of the biggest kept secrets that people have not highlighted was the impact of student loans on young voters. There was a recent poll that just came out just 2 days ago, Stephanie, that said that young voters really are starting to feel the relief of student loan forgiveness. We're talking about billions of dollars in student loan forgiveness. When you want to grow the base, and the only way you can grow that base is by young voters in battleground states like Arizona and Nevada, North Carolina.
Michael, I think I lost Maria's audio. Even though President Biden is making substantial gains with independents, that same poll shows that 19% of this key group says they will vote for someone else. And that someone could be RFK Jr. and his new VP pick, Nicole Shanahan. What do you make of all of this, and more specifically, his VP choice? Because for all these people who say, oh, he's going to pull from Trump, he could have chosen somebody far more conservative than Shanahan, but he didn't.
He didn't. And the goal for RFK Jr. is not to pull from Trump. He's aiding and abetting Trump at every turn he possibly can. Why do I say that? How do I know that? Because Fox loves him. He's a staple on Fox. So that tells you everything you need to know about that. That's one. Two, the play with the younger vice presidential choice clearly is a direct appeal to generational voters, younger voters, young professional voters, young suburban moms, for example. So there's this appeal that she brings to the table. Here's the rub. At the end of the day, I will be floored if he gets anywhere near what Ross Perot got back almost 40 years ago. And that's because despite all the fanciful dancing around and the noise making, the country is still largely aligned with the two parties. So what that means is the votes that he gets comes out of somebody's hide. And that hide, as we saw with Ross Perot in 1992, is the Republican nominee. Why? Because most of those voters that move in that direction tend to be center-right voters from disaffected Republicans, conservative independent voters. And so that play is one that has a tendency in this environment to work in reverse. In other words, instead of the Republican losing that vote, Joe Biden is considered the more stable voter. And so that hurts him as opposed to hurting someone like Donald Trump. And it's a mixed up bag, but this is where the campaign finds itself with someone like RFK in the mix.
Maria, I keep hearing anecdotally, oh, no, RFK is going to pull from Trump, especially this new woman, she kind of appeals to the libertarian crowd, or, he's dabbled in the anti-vaccine, and that goes to more MAGA folks. However, that's anecdotal. Yesterday, RFK Jr.'s own words, he said that Joe Biden is a greater threat to our democracy than Donald Trump is. With a statement like that, isn't it a pretty clear admission that he wants Donald Trump to win?
100%. And I think that this is where we really need to have a frank conversation with voters who think that a third-party candidate in the United States has a shot at the White House. They don't. All it is a spoiler. And he is basically echoing and parroting Donald Trump. And let's be very clear. The fact that he is an anti-vaxxer is so dangerous for the American public. We had measles practically eradicated in this country. And now we see measles cases going up because children are not getting vaccinated because of the lies that he is peddling. He is risking American lives to make real decisions on behalf of their families. Instead, he perpetuates conspiracy theories. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. We've seen this before. He is Trump light, and people need to be very clear that when it comes to a time to cast a vote, it has to be for someone who is pro-democracy. And he clearly has the sentiments of Donald Trump, where he likes to perpetuate lies in order to make himself feel bigger.
So, Michael, if and what should the Biden campaign do about this?
Everything in their power to diminish his any momentum he has. Certainly, I think it says a lot that RFK's own family, I mean, like all of them, are saying, oh no, America, y'all don't want to do this. You don't want to go into the room with him. No.
It's so funny.
Exactly.
I saw him on TV try to say to an interviewer, listen, does your family agree with you on everything? And I thought, no, I am sure my mother doesn't like my hair tonight, but if I were running for president, you're damn right she'd be voting for me.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.